Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden, but we're going to head up towards Gothenburg once again. Göteborg, as you would say in Swedish, the Swedish craft beer capital up on the west coast. We're going to go a little bit to the east to Jonsered, and we're going to revisit one of the bigger by volume craft breweries here in Sweden. And the last beer that I had from these guys I was seriously impressed with, and I have had good beers from them before, but the last one in particular really stood out to me. So I thought, well, we really need to have a look at their latest release on the back of that one. So for this review then, we are going to have a look at another beer from Poppels Bryggeri. This one is their Mango Passion. It comes in at 6% ABV, and as the label tells you, this one is a sour fruit ale. So yeah, this was released as part of the Lokal och Småskaligt assortment in Systembolaget on the 1st of July 2020 here in Sweden. And yeah, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, I think this is my first sour beer from Poppels as well. So this makes it a little bit of an interesting one for us to look at. So yeah, I've had some very good beers out of the Project series from these guys before, but as far as memory takes me, none of those have been sour beers actually. I've had West Coast IPAs, I've had Imperial Stouts, I'm sure I've had barley wines, English barley wines and things like that, an American barley wine as well, and some other things, but never a sour beer as far as I can remember. So yeah, very, very curious about this one, and as I always say, I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this beer as well. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Poppels Bryggeri before. No doubt you will see some more added to that in the near future. There's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you happen to be interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely, hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Poppels Bryggeri then, on to my brewery notes. So for this one then, we are going to talk about the kind of history of the name and also the history of the brewery itself. So Poppels Bryggeri, originally they were based in Mölnlycke, which is to the southeast of Gothenburg, but they're now based in Jonsered, which is, if memory serves me correctly, is kind of directly east of the city. But the brewery takes its name after that owned by Johan Poppel, who is a well-known German-Swedish brewer who spent most of his life in Varberg and Gothenburg. He was born sometime between 1605 and 1610 in Lower Saxony, I believe Saxon-Anhalt, if you translate that into German, but he moved to Sweden with his family back in the 1620s. He then met his wife Katarina Krakow sometime between 1624 and 1628, and he later founded Gothenburg's first brewery with her, officially in 1649, but it is thought that they'd been brewing since 1638. But he's also said to have written down the protocol of the city of Gothenburg in Swedish for the first time, as opposed to German. But the brewery apparently remained in the Poppel family for a number of generations, and the most famous site of the brewery in Gothenburg was at Stigbergstorget. So yeah, you know, Stigbergs, you might recognise that name as well, quite a famous place, both in the craft beer world with Stigbergs Bryggeri and a well-known place within Gothenburg actually. So yeah, the Poppels name is quite a historic one in terms of the city of Gothenburg. But this current brewery was founded back in 2012 in Mölnlycke, as I mentioned earlier, to the south of the city, on a site that was apparently owned by the Poppel family, hence why they chose the name. But the brewery is owned by 15 beer lovers, but Daniel Granat, Thomas Kaldern and Thomas Filman are the main drivers behind the company. I think the other ones take a small role in what goes on, but I think for the most part it is those three that I just mentioned. But they basically aim to focus on pairing their beers with food, and you'll find that on a lot of their beers, or on all of them actually, there are tasting notes on the back and food pairing suggestions, so it's kind of interesting. But the current head brewer is Daniel Granat. He's a bit of an experimenter, and he's known for being, you know, a little bit of a perfectionist, to be honest. He brews most of his beers a good couple of times before he actually allows them to be released, and apparently he keeps up to date with blogs and things like that, and all of these kind of things, just to, you know, keep up to date with all the kind of current brewing events and things like that. He really likes to be kept up to speed on the modern world of brewing, if you like, and it does stand him in good stead. I mean, with that New England IPA that I reviewed last time. As I say, that's the best beer that I've had from them so far, and I think that's probably the quality of that beer is probably a result of Daniel's research actually. But in 2015, as I mentioned to you, after a couple of years, these guys moved up to Jonsered, to the east of Gothenburg. They had a restaurant for a period of time. I'm not sure if it's still open. When I checked the website earlier, the restaurant wasn't listed, so maybe because of the whole COVID-19 thing, it's shut down, or maybe it went out of business. I'm not quite sure. But the brewery, of course, is very, very profitable. There is a shop at the brewery as well, from what I understand, that can sell folk ale, the 3.5%ers. They released their first folk ale in 2017, if I remember correctly. But these guys also boast the title of being Sweden's largest organic beer producer, and that was a title that they won in 2016, if I remember correctly. But yeah, over the last few years, they've continued to expand their brewing capacity and things like this, bigger brew kits, more tanks added into the brewery. But as of July 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced in the region of 95 different beers. So yeah, as I say, one of the larger by volume Swedish craft breweries, one of the better known ones abroad, I think. Probably if you are looking at Swedish beer being exported, Poppels are exported to a few places. Now I'm not sure exactly what countries, but they are starting to get out there a little bit more because of how much they're producing. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Poppels Bryggeri for the moment. If you want to learn more, of course, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and of course you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all the different beers that they've done. So yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this beer then. So as I told you before, this one comes in at 6% ABV. It is a mango passion fruit sour, from what I understand. Mango passion, or maybe I think it is just a straight, it does actually say it's just mango that's on it here. It does tell you a little bit about that. But these this artwork that you see on the Poppels beers is the usual artwork, if you like. I think the last beer, the New England IPA, was the last one I reviewed from them. That was the first one, rather, that was in a can, so that was pretty cool. And it says on the side here, this one is a modern sour beer, and there's a wee bit of a kind of blurb there as well. And one of the touches that I always like that they usually put is, oh, there's this one, yeah, there's always a little quote here from Daniel Granat, so you can have a little look at that. But on this back here, it tells you, it says there are many different types of sour beer. This one has been soured with a technique that we call kettle souring. This beer is soured after the brewing, and the sour is helped by Mulgsyra culture. Is that lactose sugar culture in the boil? But in the yeast additions, we put fruit in to basically balance up the sourness, and the end result is a beer that has a very, very fresh taste. That's basically the translation. I've probably butchered that a little bit, but yeah, they are recommending that this one is served with pommes, chips, fruity chili, and also sunglasses. So yeah, kind of interesting there. These are always the little charts that you get on the Poppels thing. I don't have any of those actually. I've got potato wedges through in the freezer and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't actually have pommes. I've not actually eaten regular pommes in quite a while, come to think of it. But yeah, nicely presented beer. This one. It says for this beer we've used masses of mango and passion fruit. So it is a mango and passion fruit sour because they give a creamy. Nice fruitiness that gives an even balance with the different types of the strong sourness that's in there. But yeah, 6% mango and passion fruit sour, this one, and yeah, the latest beer that was released from Poppels Bryggeri in Jonsered. It's just out to the east of Gothenburg. So yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. So there we go. So yeah, let's see how we get on. Yeah, there we are. That looks pretty damn awesome. It's just about as hazy as that New England that I had last time. It is just about as hazy as that. That is crazy. That just looks like, the fruit juice, the tropical fruit juice that you would pick up out of the supermarket or something there. But yeah, as you can see with this one, that is absolutely crazy, this one. The level of haze on that is just insane. It is just, it is like a straight up fruit juice. You could see when you poured this beer, there was a kind of half finger of a kind of bumpy, creamy, white coloured head on this one. There's one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass. There's no head left on it, and there's a few little ones just kind of going up there as well. But I mean, overall, it does look pretty much as you would expect for a mango passion fruit sour. It's got a lovely kind of bright, hazy, tropical fruit juice type colour to it. Yeah, nothing overly surprising about that actually. So let's have a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we get on with this one. Really curious about this. In terms of appearance, nothing particularly surprising about it. But yeah, the fruitiness that comes out of this beer is just absolutely crazy. I mean, the mango that is in there straight away with this one, you get that lovely almost kind of creamy note from the mango. That's there straight away, but you do towards the back of the nose, you get that kind of stronger, slightly more pungent passion fruit out of it, which is really, really very nice. But yeah, the malty, there's a good malty character to this one. I'm going to look what's on it in a little minute, but I do think I think there's quite a lot of oatiness in this one. The oats really give you, there's a real oaty creaminess coming out of this beer, and it just sort of has this really, from the aroma, it really has this very antagonistic relationship with the mango actually, and I really like how that goes together. So yeah, the aroma that comes out of this beer, I think, is really nice actually. I'm pretty sure that it's an oat base in this one. Does it say? Where does it say? The ingredients, yeah, water, barley malt, wheat malt, mango and passion. No, it doesn't have oats in it. I'm surprised at that. I'm really surprised at that. I really thought there was a big oaty creaminess to this one. So obviously I'm telling you lies. The malt base must just be a little bit of pale malt and a little bit of wheat malt, maybe even a bit of biscuit malt or something like that. But yeah, it really, to me, if I was blind smelling this, I would really think that it was very, very oaty actually, to be honest with you. It's got the mangoes that come out of this one are really giving you a very smooth, lovely creaminess to the beer. But yeah, underneath, sorry about the edit there guys, it just got a little bit noisy right outside my window, so just paused the video for a little minute. But yeah, like I was saying to you, this one, the thing that's really surprised about this is the level of creaminess, and then the realisation that there's no oats in here. So you do get a little bit of the bitey, wheaty qualities, as I say, towards the back of the nose. The creaminess of the mango is really prominent. You've got the slightly more pungent passion fruity notes. There's maybe a little bit of a biscuity quality to this one. You can smell a little bit of an almost kind of pale malty character forming the backbone of the malt base as well. But I like that about this one. There's not too much in the way of hoppy character to this one, to be honest. There's maybe a little bit of grassiness, a very slight floral quality, but other than that, you're really not getting much in the way of a kind of a hoppy note out of this beer at all, to be honest with you. Does it actually have hops in it? I can't remember, that's terrible, getting Alzheimer's. No, it doesn't have Humle listed on it. It's interesting. So yeah, maybe it doesn't have hops in it, but you still get a little touch of grassiness out of the aroma, I think. But yeah, the aroma that is very, very nice. Yeah, I like how that. I do like how that goes together. The aroma there is really nice actually. Very, very juicy, very summery. You know, this one I think is going to be pretty damn good actually. If you like these kind of summery sour beers, I've got a feeling this one might be right up your street. So yeah, let's have a taste of this one then and see how it goes. Take a little bit of time to enjoy the aroma of it. It is pretty much a straight shooter, not the most complex thing you're going to come across, but it does come across really nice and fresh and summery. So let's have a taste of this then and see how we get on. Yes, the Mango Passion from Poppels Bryggeri, 6%. And I have to say, it is a very smooth, first impression is, it's a very smooth, kind of oily sour, rather than anything else. It does have a nice little bit of sourness underneath. I mean, the way that that kind of comes out of this is really, really nice. Yeah. This one's nice. It's one of these ones where it's really got a little bit of bite to it, a little bit of that sour kind of bite in the beginning, and then it really smoothens out and becomes very creamy and very sweet the further you go into the aftertaste. Yeah, this one, it gets a thumbs up from me. It keeps up the same, to be honest. I know that the New England IPA is obviously a vastly different style from this, but this one, the way the mouthfeel comes out and the sort of creaminess and things like that, it does actually, you know, have a similar vibe to it, because that was one of the things that really impressed me about the New England, was it had a hell of a lot of bitterness and bite to it, but it had this lovely kind of creaminess to it, and this one seems to kind of continue that vibe, to be honest with you. So this gets a thumbs up from me. By no means is this as much of a beast as that New England Double IPA was. But to me, as a summery sour beer, can't you go wrong with that? Definitely not. This is well done. It's another solid beer from Poppels Bryggeri. And I mean, if you know these guys with like the Russian Imperial Stout, the double West Coast IPA and things that they've got, these guys are putting solid beers out there, and this one is another example of that. But I like the way that it keeps up that sort of smooth, creamy vibe that was in the New England one last time. Terrible shame actually if that New England one doesn't become a core range beer, because it was really that good. It was up there with the the New Swedens, the Narangis, the Amazing Hazies and stuff like that. It was very good. But yeah, I do like how this one goes together. So let's try and break down the flavour of this one then, and see how we go on. So straight away, right across the middle of the palate, you've got a nice little bit of a kind of pale malty quality in there. If you go towards the back third of your palate, you will feel it kind of thickening up a little bit. It does have a little bit of a kind of thicker bready-ish note towards the back of the palate there, and I'm not unconvinced that some of that's from the mango, because the mango it does give you that almost kind of creamy, fluffy type thing to it. But yeah, you can really feel some thicker, almost oaty-like creaminess at the back of the palate. As I said earlier, I know this beer doesn't have oats in it, but yeah, it gives you a lovely big kind of creaminess at the back of the palate. You do get a few bitey, wheaty notes out of it, but then as you kind of come further forward into the middle third of your palate, this one for me has a really nice, it does have a really nice kind of smoothness and sweetness in the centre of the tongue. There's almost a little touch of a biscuity note in the middle of the palate too, so I really like how that goes together. But yeah, straight up, I mean, the middle of your palate, a bit of a pale malty base, you can feel a slightly thicker wheaty quality on top of that, and it's almost like you've got a little island in the centre of your tongue that's just got a bit of a, it's almost a bit like a kind of Werther's Original type thing, maybe even a very slightly biscuit. I'd say more Werther's Original than, definitely a more Werther's Original note than a biscuity note, in fairness. I would stick with that, yeah, more Werther's Original rather than anything else. But yeah, that kind of breadiness and sort of breadiness and kind of creaminess that this beer has really pushes forward. It pushes forward well into the kind of front third of the palate as well. When this beer doesn't have hops added to it, that's not surprising. Like the sort of smoothness, the oaty kind of, I keep saying oaty, the sort of wheaty, mangoey creaminess that you get out of this one spreads right towards the kind of front curve of the tongue, which is really interesting for me. A seasoned beer drinker, if you will, it's really unusual to have that type of flavour so far on the front of the palate, actually, because even most beers that are like this, they will put a little bit of hop in them, like a little bit of Hallertau or Tittnanger or something like that, to kind of balance them out. Quite often with sour beers they put in older hops so that the bitterness doesn't counteract the sourness in the beer, actually. So yeah, that's an interesting point to make about this one. But yeah, let's focus on the fruity and the sour side of the beer then. So when you take this beer in, you're getting a little bit of that kind of citricy, that kind of tartness, that tart sourness. It comes in just right behind the edge of the beer, around the kind of front curve of the tongue there. As I was saying earlier, this beer, it doesn't seem to have hops in it, but I do think in the very back corner of the palate you've got a very light earthiness to it. As you move further forward along the sides of the palate, it does get a little touch herbal. You get some nice floral aromaticity on the front corners of the palate, and then around the very front curve of the tongue, it's just a little bit lighter and more grassy in my mind. But yeah, the fruitiness of this beer. The thing is, whenever you add fruit into a beer, it always comes out around the kind of front edge of the palate. It usually kind of suppresses a little bit of the IBUs, the green side of the IBUs. But since this beer doesn't have hops, I think it behaves in quite a different way. So the mango, I think, really spreads over the whole of the palate, but I think it's the passion fruit that's kind of really coming out on the edge of the tongue. And passion fruit for me has always been a little bit more of a slightly pungent, stronger, citrusy type tropical fruit. So that's what I'm really getting out of this one, to be honest. The passion fruit is sitting there around the very edge of the tongue, and the mangoes, the juiciness and the kind of creaminess of the mangoes are playing around with the wheat and the yeasty notes out of this beer. I'd be curious to know what type of yeast has been used in this one as well, because it really is creamy. Could it be a London Fog or something like that along with a sour beer yeast? Could it be something like that? I'm not sure if you could do like a double fermentation like that. The man to ask for that though is Harry Meadows over at Blue Nose Beer Reviews. He's the brewer, but yeah, I suspect something like that. But yeah, the fruitiness out of this beer I think is really nice. And the sourness, I think, the further you go into the aftertaste, the creaminess of the mangoes comes out, some of the wheaty breadiness lingers there, but you do start to get a little bit of sourness towards the edge of the tongue on this one. You do get a little bit of a kind of sharper kind of citricy note coming out of this one, which is really, really quite nice. So I like how that goes together. Yeah, really nicely done. As I say, the further you go into the aftertaste, you will get a little bit of grassiness out of it, a little bit of a kind of sour sharpness in there, which is really nice, and I like how that I do like how that goes together on this one. In terms of the I think we've kind of covered most of everything that's on the flavour of this. You do get a little bit of a kind of lingering citricy quality on the front tip of the tongue too, but in terms of the mouthfeel then, I would say this beer, it's pretty mid-bodied. The carbonation is very smooth on this one. In terms of sour beers, I find this one definitely to be one of the more kind of creamy, but also more also one of the more kind of slightly more oily ones that I've had, which is kind of interesting. In terms of IBUs, this one I'm pretty sure has like 5 IBUs or something. There's very, very little bitterness to this beer. You know, I think 5 IBUs if you're lucky on this one. But yeah, as I say, the middle of your palate, lovely and smooth, and almost gets a little bit sweeter the further you go into the aftertaste. Really gets creamier and creamier, and you can feel the middle of your palate thickening up a little bit. You've got some lovely juiciness, both from the mango and from the passion fruit in this, and you've just got a little bit of that lingering kind of sour beer quality, kind of that little sour citricy type thing at the front of the palate too. But yeah, another really nice beer. This one, definitely a good summer sour beer. This one, I think that's definitely a fair way to describe this one. So yeah, let's leave the tasting at that for this. This has been a really interesting beer to review, and yeah, I've really enjoyed reviewing this one for you. So yeah, thumbs up to Poppels Bryggeri once again if you like a nice kind of summery, sort of thick, almost creamy type sour. Actually, it's almost a little bit like a pastry sour in some ways, to be honest with you. It does remind me of some of these kind of pastry sours that I've had from the likes of Malmö Brewing Company and stuff. It does have a little bit of that kind of smooth, sweet vibe to it. I don't know if that's intentional, actually. I don't know if that's what they mean by a modern sour beer, but it does have a little bit of an almost pastry stout, not pastry stout, pastry sour quality to it. So that's a style I need to explore a little bit more as well, actually. But yeah, interesting one, I have to say. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one then. This one was the Mango Passion, a mango and passion fruit sour ale coming in at 6% ABV from Poppels Bryggeri, released on the 1st of July 2020 through the local Osmoskaligt assortment in Systembolaget. Really recommend this one. Lovely kind of summery sour beer, and cool to try my first sour from Poppels Bryggeri as well. I'd love to see these guys have a go at like a classic Goza or a you know, a kind of classic Berliner Weisse. It'd be cool to see them start to have a go at some of these if they are playing around with sour beers now. Actually, that's a very interesting thing for Poppels, because these guys are very capable in the sort of regular beers, if you can call them that. So yeah, if they turn their attention to sours, I think we could be in for a few treats. So watch this space with them. But yeah, another solid beer from Poppels, and this is a brewery that I would recommend you check out. The New England Double IPA is awesome. The West Coast IPA is really nice. I think that one is just called Double IPA, but they do have one that's called WCIPA, West Coast IPA, and the as I say, the Russian Imperial Stout is a little bit of a classic. That one I believe was Projekt number 2 or number 3, if I remember rightly. The Projekt series beers, if they do well, they tend to be put into the core range and put on regular sale, of course. But yeah, thank you again for watching my beer reviews. As always, let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Poppels Bryggeri as well. Do let me know your own thoughts on this particular beer. Let me know what your favourite pastry sours are as well. That is a style that I need to review a little bit more. But this one was the Mango Passion, 6% mango and passion fruit sour from Poppels Bryggeri in Jonsered, out to the east of Gothenburg on the west coast of Sweden. Thank you again for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. Slange, skål, make sure you check out Poppels and have a go at the Mango Passion sour. Cheers.